This is Shape Language I created from a project with my friend Steve, where I took sheet music. Steve had written about a project that we did together where we put a bunch of people in a giant choir robe. So I took my favorite pages and I cut out the negative space, and I scanned all of these pages. I ended up with these shapes. So since this score that Steve wrote has the lyrics "I am super tall" in it, and it also has a lot of conversations about color, like it goes red and pink and blue, and it's beautiful. I feel like the song is really relevant to some of my goals about being taller and more colorful and more teamwork. So I feel like this particular shape language, because I develop a lot of shape languages, is perfect for these hats. So first, I've just been like looking at all these shapes and thinking about which ones would make an interesting hat. And so far I'm kind of leaning on this one, because three people could in theory wear it at once and try to explore space together. I'm also interested in this shape, which is right here. And this one might be a little too crazy. So I'm trying to decide which shape to go with. Other things I'm thinking about is when I'm not wearing this hat, I want it to be an interesting sculpture, and I want it to be interesting when you wear it in different ways. So if there's different ways to put it on and move it around. I think I'm gonna go with this one, which might be the hardest and weird one, and that's so me. And this is kind of a rough sketch of what I'm thinking right now. There would be 1 head opening, 2 head opening, 3 head opening, 4 head opening. And the reason why I'm going with this one is it's out of all these shapes, and I love all these shapes, but this one's my favorite. And I'm doing a project about my father-in-law, who I also have a shape language for, with this shape that it's like a mail art project, and I'm working with this shape a lot. So I've already started a conversation with this shape. So it makes sense to me to keep digging into a shape that I'm already interested in and excited about, and kind of keep that focus. So this is gonna be hard and weird, and I think I'm gonna do it. So here we go. Okay, I'm in my colorful and kind of insane studio where I get all my stuff done. So I've decided on my hat shape, and now I want to measure my head so that I know the minimum amount that I need to be able to wear this. So I just have, this is a measuring tape that I buy at Walmart, Target, Joann's, Michael's. They would sell these anywhere. They're just like $1. They're really easy to get. So you definitely want to go over your widest area. Like, don't do it really up here, because then it's not going to sit all the way down here. So I'm just going to overlap. I feel like I look very 70s. Okay, so you don't want it to be so tight that it's like, so, tight enough that you feel like it's going to stay on your head, but not so tight that you feel like it's cutting off circulation. So I've pinched it where it overlaps, and I have 23. So I'm gonna make some strips that are 23. I'm gonna cut it out of EVA foam, so that I have that shape that I need to be able to wear it. I'm using the contact cement, and then I also have, this is a pattern weight, but you could use a rock or a book or something. So I'm weighting down this roll of EVA foam. This is my 23-inch strip. I randomly made this 4.5 inches. I can always cut it down, and I just want to test that it fits my head. I put an extra 1/2 inch on here just for wiggle room that I can cut off. So I actually drew it on as the 1/2 inch. To use a metal ruler for cutting these lines, because if you tried to use the wooden ruler or plastic ruler, when you're cutting the line, sometimes the blade actually cuts into the ruler, and then the ruler's not straight anymore. So I always use a metal ruler for cutting. Make sure you've lined up that edge really well so that you get a real straight line. And this is where having a really sharp blade comes in handy. So you can see how easily that cut. It's so nice. I'm just checking this fit, and this is with that extra 1/2 inch, and I'm kind of thinking that I'm gonna use, well, it's a little loose. Let me see. Yeah, I think I'm actually gonna use the extra 1/2 inch because I'm actually gonna cut almost like the back of a ball cap. I'm gonna cut a thing that I can put Velcro on so that it can be adjustable. So I think I'm actually gonna use my extra 1/2 inch. So this is what it looks like. And I'm actually gonna glue this edge. But first, I'm gonna use this to trace all my other ones, because remember, I want 4 little openings in my hat. So I'm gonna go ahead and trace these. I've cut a whole bunch of these strips that are the size of my head, and now I'm gonna glue them together with the contact cement. So that's why I got out some brown paper, so this contact cement can get on everything. So this stuff is kind of crazy. It's stinky, so I recommend opening a window. Anytime you're working with any kind of glues or chemicals, it's a good idea to open a window. How contact cement works is, and this is another reason why I love Bargs, is it comes with a brush. So you want to paint the side, each side, and then let it dry. So, you know, it doesn't need to be super gooey, but enough that it covers the whole side. So I've done this side. Okay, and I let that dry. So now I'm gonna do this side. Okay. So now I'm gonna go get a paper towel to wipe this. You can see this is dry now. You can tell it's on there because there's like a yellowish color. So you wanna, if you touch it, it's like sticky, but it's not wet, and that's important. So once they're dry and they're not like they're wet, they're tacky is the word. You know, they're sticky, but they're not wet. Then you're just gonna very slowly and carefully match those edges. And once they stick, they're not unsticking. So I would take this part really slow. This glue is awesome, but there's no forgiveness there. So I'm just going really slow and I'm matching the seam there. And then contact cement is kind of weird. Actually, the longer it's glued, the stronger it gets. So it is strong right now, but tomorrow it'll be even stronger. I actually like these to be adjustable. So I'm actually gonna draw, you see these on the back of baseball caps. And I'm gonna cut this with my tin snips, just slowly and carefully. And I'm gonna put a piece of Velcro on here. And this is so that if I have other people of different head sizes, it'll make it a little bit easier to wear this. So I'm just gonna clean this up just a little bit. Honestly, this stuff is so light, a regular scissors is probably fine too. So that's pretty good. So now I'm gonna put some contact cement here and here so that I can put Velcro on. Just like I did with this, I'm gonna put some contact cement here, and then I'll put some contact cement on the Velcro and I'll let it dry, and then I'll stick that Velcro on. I took this yellow shape that I was interested in and I drew it really big. So I know this is a giant crazy hat, but remember my goal is so that I can get 4 hats in here. So I want to put one here and here, and then on this side and that side. I want to fit 4 hats in each corner. So I know this is kind of a strange and crazy hat, but my goal is to get multiple people in one hat that we can perform with. My goal is that it will make me taller, and it's my goal that it can function as a sculpture when I'm not wearing it. So even though it's kind of a crazy hat, it's exactly the hat that I was hoping to make. Now I'm gonna cut it out and cut it out of the EVA foam very carefully with a sharp blade. Here are these 2 really big hat pieces. So I traced that piece of paper and I cut it out in reverse. So you can see this piece is mirrored to that piece, and that's because this stuff is on the back. So I had to make sure to cut them to be opposites. And I cut them with a combination of a knife and scissors. Some of these curves, it was easier to use the scissors. So as long as you can get a smooth cut, I think it's fine, especially this really thin stuff. I laid out where I wanted each hat to be. So like I want one to be here, I want one to be here, one here, and one here. So I'm gonna put glue all in the square on the hat too, like on a square. So I'm gonna glue all the hats to one piece and then I'll glue them to the other piece. I've also decided that I'm gonna put the Velcro on the inside because I think it'll be easier to adjust on the inside. So I'm gonna make that switch. So now I've put contact cement on the top and bottom of this. I put a little guy in the middle to just give it some strength. So I put contact cement on the top and bottom, and I've cut a strip that goes across here, and I'm gonna do that around all the sides except for the head opening. So really, you know, with this, I'm just taking pieces of foam and glue and just making a fun and weird shape. You can really play with this. I'm being a little methodical with my pattern because I want to make a shape, but I also do tons where I just play with gluing it together and seeing what kind of shape I can make. So I have most of the foam together here and where I wanted all the head holes to be. So from here, you know, you could paint it or decorate it any way you want. You could use glue. I think I'm gonna try using glue and printed canvas. So I'll show you how that turns out, but you could prime this with a material that's called plastic dip and you could spray paint it. There's just so many different ways you could go from here. It's really how you want to go with it, but I really like fabric, so I'm going to cover it with fabric.